After the murder of George Floyd, we're seeing people rally to seek justice for Mr. Floyd and for the Black community in ways I haven't seen in my whole life. Unfortunately, we're watching in horror as many videos are coming out about the police response to these protests. In this video, I want to go over one specific incident out of the many you're probably seeing online, and I want to talk about why this was so terrible from a medical perspective. The clip I'm going to show is really hard to watch, and because of that, I have to warn you. So I'll play the clip now, and if you don't want to see it, just skip to the timestamp, and I'll see you back in a few seconds. All right, as you saw in this clip, this 75-year-old man comes up to a large group of police officers. Looks like maybe he was asking a question. He was then pushed and he falls backwards, slamming the back of his head on the concrete. Blood immediately starts pouring out of his head and he's very clearly unconscious. The officers look like they walk right past him, past his unconscious body, and the only person who appears to have any concern is a member of the National Guard. I work as a hospitalist, and what that means is I take care of people who come to the emergency department who have to stay for treatment of their medical conditions. And in my job, I take care of a lot of elderly people. So what I want to do now is break down just how bad this attack was from a medical perspective. And so here are some of the things that could happen to this man after this whole incident. I know this man was shoved to the ground, but for the sake of comparison, let's call what happened a fall. For elderly people, falls can be devastating and they can basically disable you. After a fall, you have a much higher risk of having to live in a nursing home and can have a really decreased quality of life. You're more likely to have to rely on others to do basic things like walking around your house or taking a bath. And in the worst case, complications after a fall can lead to death. And falls are the 5th leading cause of death in adults over the age of 65. As this man fell, he slammed his head on the concrete. He looks like he's about 6 feet tall, so that's a pretty big height to fall from. And after he hits the ground, he's out. That kind of injury can easily cause bleeding in and around the brain, and elderly patients with severe traumatic brain injury can have up to an 80% chance of death or major disability. Besides brain bleeds, falls from a standing height can cause spinal fractures. The most concerning type of spinal fracture would be at the level of the neck, which is called the cervical spine. Fracturing the spine itself is a pretty big injury, but there's also the risk for paralysis if the spinal cord is involved. As he falls, it looks like his back takes a lot of the impact, and because of that, there's a high chance of rib fractures, which increases his risk for things like pneumonia. And for each additional rib that's fractured in an older adult, the risk of death increases by 20%. This kind of fall also has a high risk for hip fractures, and acute and delayed complications of hip fractures can carry up to a 30% chance of death in older adults. So as you can see, even if this man lives, his life is almost certainly going to be cut short. This isn't the normal kind of video I make, but these are not normal times. The last few months have felt like years, and because of everything that's going on, my eyes and my ears have been opened. I'm ready to listen and to learn how I can be a better person and how I can help vulnerable communities. I'll be making videos in the coming weeks about how the American healthcare system has neglected Black and brown communities and how all of that has really come to light during the coronavirus pandemic. So if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching this video. I truly hope that you're staying safe and staying well, and I hope to see you soon.